And are we live? Yes, we are. Shall we all have a little drink? Oh my God, it is all kicking off as we speak. Let's all have a little glass of wine whilst we catch up and let everybody join us. Welcome everybody to the Katie's Arms. If you're not in the UK and you're joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. You will not necessarily be aware, as we are, some of us are, that everything is currently kicking off as we speak over at Reform in a massive way. So, the story is just breaking, I think, or within the hour. So I'll explain about that and then we can all chitty chat through what's happened. But for any of our overseas audience, literally it's just happening. So what you'll see here, New Zealand's here, Philadelphia, Florida, exactly. So if you're with us in the Katie's Arms, your pub online from overseas, welcome, welcome, welcome. And you'll forgive us if we go straight into the weeds of what's going on right now here. I know it's normally pub night. And pub night is usually just about having a laugh at me, but this kind of does need talking about. So what I'll do is just briefly explain what I think has just gone on. Anyone here, please correct me, because you may have read more than I've read. So Reform, if we phrase it up, all Reform had to do, I think, was sit tight, keep performing, keep improving the party, keep growing the party, get some more solid candidates. And I believe they would have won the next election. And I believe they could have forced an election much sooner than 2029. So that's just the backdrop to what I think was going to happen, is that within the next few years, they could have pushed it such that Reform would have taken either power or certainly have more MPs than most other parties. Instead, what's happened is that Rupert Lowe, who's the MP for Great Yarmouth, I want to say, anyone correct me here if anything I say is incorrect or you know better. So a gentleman, Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe is a MP for Reform, one of the 5 MPs for Reform. And yesterday, I believe it was, he was speaking in an article online. Do correct me or do let people know. I'm just going to have a quick drink because it's kind of big stuff going on right now. Hold on. So I don't know what paper it was. Yes, Great Yarmouth, thank you. MP for Great Yarmouth. Rupert Lowe went to a newspaper with an interview and he was talking about, it's obviously asked, will Nigel be Prime Minister one day? Will he be a great PM? And I guess Rupert was honest and said, well, I guess a lot would have to change there. I'm paraphrasing. He has a bit of a messiah complex. The word messiah was certainly used. And we need to move from a protest party that's driven by one guy to a political party where I guess leadership is shared, power is shared, which is something that has been levelled at Reform since its inception. And when Ben Habib, a fine gentleman who was absolutely, in my understanding, crucial to Reform, when he was kicked out of the party for suggesting what seems to be a similar thing, which is the party has to become a party. It can't be the Nigel toy. It can't just be about Nigel. So then Ben Habib was kicked out. So what's happened now is Rupert said, well, Nigel has a bit of a messiah complex. The party has to grow up if we're going to take power, and we can't just be a little protest party running around behind Nigel. That obviously did not go down well with a very sensitive Nigel Farage. And that's one thing, right? We all have arguments, we all have fights. I've had huge fights at work, in my workplaces over the decades. I've been fired, as you know, probably from every job I've ever had, but without exception, there have been times in jobs where I've gone in, the door has been closed, both of us, whoever's fighting, has a proper fight, has it out, agrees the way forward, and out the door you go. That's how men deal with issues. In this case, what appears to have happened is that Nigel and his chairman, Zia Youssef, the Muslim chairman, who was brought in because he's loaded, have presumably gone into a room and decided, we will take a large knife and we will stab Rupert to death. I mean, in the back. Apparently that's what's gone on. Zia Youssef, the chairman, the Muslim chairman, has reported Rupert Lowe to the police for a workplace incident. Presumably there was some kind of row at work. So Zia allegedly has gone to the police. That's in the Reform statement. Katie, you've always been right about Farage and GB News. Do you know, there's so many things I would much, much rather not have been right about. But thank you. I've always tried to hold what I knew about Farage, and I've always tried to be supportive whilst being honest. And that's been a tricky line. Let's go back to the story. So Zia apparently goes to the police and files a criminal complaint about Rupert Lowe, the MP for Reform, who came out and criticised Nigel, but didn't really I wouldn't call it criticism. If someone said, Katie's got a messiah complex and she needs to share a bit more, lovely Mark would say that about me. Lovely Mark, and probably the team on the road would say, you know what, she's a control freak and she gets involved in stuff that she really shouldn't. And she doesn't like it if not everyone's not doing things that she wants them to do. That would be, I think, really fair. Like, there's things you can label as criticism, but if it's just a fair observation, because it's the same observation that Ben Habib has, and the same observation I had back in UKIP, and the same observation I had with the way that Nigel treated people who were very talented. Not only that, but they have found 2 ladies, allegedly, who have made work office complaints about being bullied by Rupert Lowe. They've just come out now. So they have removed the whip from Rupert Lowe MP. Somebody might be able to help me here. Rupert has been elected. Zia is parachuted in due to his money. So I think what's important is I talk less, isn't it? And that you, that you have your comments heard. Lovely, funny Katie. I don't know if I'm being very funny right now. So Zia has stabbed Rupert Lowe hard by going to the police. The 2 ladies' complaints is now bullying. So that has to be formally investigated. And they've brought in a KC, because of course lawyers really help everything, don't they? You know, a KC is really going to assist to investigate. Lee Anderson is siding with Nigel and Zia. Rupert was elected. Zia was brought in for his money. So there you go. Totally a fair point. Zia is where he is because of his cash, as with so many people that are near Nigel or get access to Nigel, or when Nigel's on a stage somewhere, it's because there's cash involved. Rupert Lowe, just to cite something that is a fact, doesn't even take his MP salary. My understanding, and Great Yarmouth will be able to correct me here, Rupert Lowe gives his salary away to charities in Great Yarmouth. I think that's correct. KC, King's Counsel. So it used to be QC, Queen's Counsel. So the highest lawyers in the land. In order to make this story, watertight, Lee Anderson says, we've brought in, one of the highest lawyers in the land to investigate this very serious matter of Rupert Lowe bullying females and also not assaulting, but whatever, workplace, whatever phrase bloody Zia Youssef used. In a moment, when I finished stating facts as I know them, I have a few things to say. That's when the gloves come off. But for the moment, for everybody, I wanted to try and recap facts as I could. Do you actually read the comments or just speak at the camera? Well, I hope that helps answer your question, given I just read your comment. So mostly it's me speaking at the camera, and then often I try and read a few comments. I think Rupert is a man of integrity. I like him. And also screw you. Because if you were being facetious, I just caught you out. So, King's Counsel, barrister, basically. Great. Allegedly, the KC has found no evidence. Now, this is a great point here. Elon prefers Rupert. Now, I would argue, and I think many of you might, this is the end of Farage. Hey from Qatar. Oh, hi Qatar. Well done on all your oil and gas. Well done. I would argue that the seeds of this were sown by Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, as he would acknowledge, is acutely autistic, which is also why he's a genius, which is also why I argue all the time, all the best of us are weird. The less you fit in to society, in any regard, I think the better it is. All we need to do is find out what your magic is, right? So if you're a mum and you think your kid's massively weird, I don't think that's the case. I think living with them day to day can be bloody annoying. But if you find their magic, that's the most special people. All the best of us are weird. I'm a freak, I know. Always have been, in lots of ways. We won't go there. There's not the point. So Elon, because he's acutely weird, was able to sense in the way that Elon can. He can distill the fact of the thing so brilliantly from across the pond. He said, Nigel's not the guy. Nigel's not the guy. And honestly, from inside Trump's inner circle, Trump loved Farage. Farage was like embedded into the Trump inner circle. For Elon to say that, that's because he's able to think for himself. He doesn't think to please anyone else because he's Elon. He doesn't have that faculty. He said, Nigel's not the guy. And that was really the moment. It's not about this. I don't think it's even about what was said by Rupert to the newspaper. This is all about Elon Musk saying, Nigel is not the guy. Nigel hasn't got what it takes. This is all because of what Elon said, because it's all been sitting there. Nigel's had his confidence really kind of given a hard shake by Elon. Elon is Trump's, closest ally now. And Nigel hasn't gotten over that, and that's why it's being taken out on Rupert. That's my take on it. And it's a take that no one's really got to yet, which is all of this came about because Elon could smell or observe or even sense that Nigel's not the guy. All of that, right? Rupert is the guy. I'm the one. Maybe in time, but as you notice from politics, I may be an arsehole, but damn, I am not that big an arsehole. And I will never, I mean, many of you will understand, I will never tell something that I don't believe, not at any cost. It has cost me everything I ever owned, everything I ever had, even when I could have made problems go away from myself. My law case brought against me, I could have got out of it by paying 30,000 in the end to a refugee charity. I wouldn't, because I will not support refugees, because refugees are to the detriment of ordinary British people. That's never been spoken about before, but I will not. And so that's the issue there. Okay, let's move along. So the Elon thing is the basis of all this falling out. Nigel lost confidence in himself, and so he sent Zia Yusuf to deal the knife into the back of the guy that he saw taking his crown. I mean, it is very Roman. It is very gladiatorial, except that, Nigel Farage couldn't fucking punch his own reflection, which he looks at often enough. A few other things that aren't being observed just now is how many more parties would Nigel like to have? Open question. Because he had the UKIP party, and then he completely detonated that. He absolutely took that, had 40% at one point, let's remember. He absolutely ripped UKIP apart. He tore it apart because he threw his toys out the pram. He wasn't going to allow Tommy Robinson anywhere near it. He absolutely sabotaged Gerard Batten, one of the absolute loveliest men, always too good for politics, absolute class individual who I'm still in contact with. And then he moved on to the Brexit Party. The Brexit Party was the new toy. Come over from UKIP, come over. And everyone went over from UKIP. Come to Brexit, be around me, be around my sunshine. Look, it's the Brexit Party. And what happened with the Brexit Party was Nigel's vehicle for maximum exposure, Nigel's vehicle for maximum publicity for Nigel, maximum eyeballs on Nigel. Nigel's the hero of the people, and believe me, he got Brexit, and that was an uplift for this country, and all for that. And then Now, Brexit's not useful, so we'll sell that out to the Conservatives. I'll take what I took as my backhand payment for just dissolving it. People that were going to stand for me, thought they were my candidates, were my candidates, learnt secondhand that the party didn't exist anymore. You were no longer candidates because I pulled you. I mean, people out there will know that I'm speaking truth because this happened to actual candidates who learnt second or third hand that they weren't actually running anymore because Nigel sold them out. I'm not criticising Nigel at this point. I am trying to put facts. So UKIP, don't want to play with that anymore. Brexit Party, all about me. It's Nigel's party, Brexit Party. I control everything. Sold out the people that were standing for me. Form Reform. Reform Party, all about me. Oh, look, now I've got Lee, now I've got Richard Tice, I've got Ben Habib. Oh, lovely Ben, for example, running the show, keeping Reform going. I would argue Richard Tice, for all that he doesn't really have, much between the ears, he kept it going. He was running the show in the best way that he could, even though the media just wanted Nigel. And then along comes Nigel, decides, right, okay, I'll quit my GB News contract now. I'll take over. Boom, 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 it's my party. And now I'm going to go beyond the facts into more of a Katie Hopkins. We love you. Well, thank you very much. That's very, very kind. Trump is great. True, exactly. And there is something I really want to move to, which after I've had my short rant, I really want to move to Trump. And I don't know if anybody's here listening, if you're listening this evening from South Africa. So if any of my South African family are here, please give us a hello. If any of our white farmers are here, or black South Africans who live on white farms and earn a great living there and really love working there, any South African families, please say hi. I really want to get on to what Trump has just done for our South Africans, because as you'll know, I'm deeply wedded to that. But here's the gloves are off. Let's have a little sip of drink first. Here's a few really important things to remember. Trump has just got in the White House and we've seen what it might be for a politician who loves their country, who has nearly been killed, or he would have been dead for their country, and is now fighting for their country. So now we've seen that, and that's been very helpful. For so long, Europeans had no concept of a leader that might actually fight for their country as opposed to manage its decline or fall as we have. The second thing is that Reform does have the potential to be bigger than Nigel. I very much agree with the statement that Zia Youssef needs to be gone, that Rupert needs to be reinstated immediately. I don't really care personally what happens to Nigel at this point. I think a bit of grovelling might be in order. I think Ben Habib needs to be back in amongst that mix, and there need to be some very sensible conversations about moving together as a line of one. Most importantly of all, and this is the bit where I would much prefer to talk about, is decent, ordinary British people deserve so much better than this. And this is where I get bloody angry. Because decent, ordinary people can't afford bloody butter when they go to a supermarket. Decent, ordinary people are in Sainsbury's aisle, whatever, looking at oil, cooking oil, vegetable oil, olive oil, and thinking £7.50 for that. That's a lot. I can't get that now. I'm not exaggerating. Things are so expensive. People are stopping, going, can I get that? Can't I? Should I get that? Can't I? On basic food items. And my point here is, and yet, decent British people are so determined to join a fight for this country, they will believe in reform and sign up for it. They will pay £25 that they don't have to a limited company headed by Nigel, which actually hasn't changed, despite them saying it's changed. It hasn't significantly. And despite all of that money slushing around with Zia, with Nick Candy, Nigel on his private flights out to perform at CPAC for everyone to applaud and go, oh, isn't Nigel great? Oh, look at him there. Isn't that great? Well done, Nigel. Clap, clap, clap. His contract with the gold that he's flogging, his MP salary, his MEP pension, all of the cash. This isn't a jealousy thing. I'm saying, given you've got all of that, could you not put decent, ordinary people first? Ordinary people turning up to the rallies that these boys then gloat about how many people were there. Look at the crowds. Look how many people we pulled in. They see it all wrong. They see it as if those people are there for them. They're not. Ordinary people, I'm going to get upset, are turning up because they want to be in a room with other ordinary people and they want to believe in something altogether. It doesn't matter about the boys on the stage. Their duty is to the people, to show up for the people and to reassure the people that the fight is on. It isn't to stand there and take the applaud and nod and smile into your gay little mic before you get your helicopter back off to your luxury accommodation, you bunch of absolute C-words. And Lee Anderson, you absolute C-word, and Nigel Farage. And as for you, Zia Youssef, frankly, and I've wanted to say this since the start, you can F right off. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're the problem. You've been the problem for a long time. And the thing I haven't been able to say, because I've been politely holding the line because it's the right thing to do, is that since you came along, things have changed. Nigel has withdrawn. Nigel has pulled back. Statements about immigration not there anymore. The fight being taken away. Suddenly we're compromising. Suddenly it's very important that we recognise the importance of the Muslim vote. Suddenly pulling back from the principles on which people need to join this fight. And we've watched it happen. We've held our tongues because we knew that the important thing was to hold the line. And look what you've done. You have just crapped all over decent, ordinary people who gave you their money, but not even the money, because we don't really care about money at this point. Most of us have got to the point, I did long ago, we have nothing to lose, we're all in. And look at Tommy sat there. He's so all in, he's in solitary confinement because he'll fight for his people. And you lot, with all that money you've got sloshing around with your big fat dinners and your big fat private planes, laughing to yourselves as you private jet off somewhere else, laughing at the little people, look at you. You should all be ashamed. All of you. Ben Habib, criticising all the time on Twitter. Shut up on Twitter and get in a room with the boys and sort it the shit out. Rupert Lowe, on Twitter. Get off Twitter and sort it the shit out. All of you. You're pathetic. Richard Tice, desperate for your time on Question Time, where you make another massive pillock of yourself because you somehow can't hear your own gob. You can't hear the nonsense and you think noise is enough. Noise is not enough. You boys, all of you, should be bloody ashamed of yourself because ordinary decent people deserve better than any of you. They show up, they turn up to car park lots, to Trago friggin' Mills, to some bloody awful conference place, to be largely ignored, to be patronised half the time, but they still show up. And you bastards take the piss. And I have held that. In all the years, I've watched all of this from UKIP and beyond. And it is beyond belief what you've just done. You are a despicable bunch. And I am perfectly prepared, as will so many other people be, to move on from this. This is the way to deal with this, is to say it, put it out there, and then say, do you know what, tomorrow we'll close a door on this, and tomorrow you idiots, all 5 of you and the others and the rest of the griping, sniping, whatever, sort this shit out, and by tomorrow morning you better have a plan. And then you shut the door on this, say, look, we all had a funny 5 minutes, we all acted like jerks, we recognise ordinary people deserve better, here's the plan. You've got 12 hours to sort this shit out. But truly, the rage I feel is for every man and woman and the elderly people who drove for hours to be at your Trago Mills rally. You know, and I went there just to shake people's hands and thank them for coming and thank them for taking the time, even though I was an outsider, even though none of you will ever acknowledge me. I don't care. I only care about the ordinary people. I wanted them to know that they were so great for just showing up. I couldn't care less that I have zero role in any of it. It is so great that we had reform and people had hope. I'm so happy for it. And look what you've just done. You've made a mockery of ordinary people. And you've made a mockery of the people that need something to have faith in. And I cannot accept that at any level. And And what I will say is, as I would say this to my children, you can still make this right. And you need to make it right. And you need to make it right immediately. Because the only way out of this is to come out with your hands up as a line of one and say, look, we got shiters. We knocked 7 bales of shit out of each other. Here's what's going to happen. And get that Zia Yusuf out. Get him out. I don't care how much money he's got. I don't care who he's connected to. I don't care what funding is coming through him. I don't care what Arab nation or whatever is funneling cash through there. He needs to be out. Get him out. Get Rupert Lowe back in. And for God's sake, get some people in who you will listen to, who will criticise you in the way that I am often criticised. Because what keeps you on your path. It's what keeps you humble. It's what keeps you respectful of the receptionist or the brilliant hairdresser or the brilliant ladies in makeup or the lovely gentleman who's driving the car or the nice guy who waits for you or helps you or picks you up from somewhere. The ordinary people who are the best of us. I hadn't quite expected to go quite that far, but as it turns out, that may have been what needed to be said. Tomorrow I will go back to holding the line for however this comes about. I would absolutely, I will wholeheartedly say that I don't believe a word of what's been levelled at Rupert. I wish him all the very, very best. I absolutely think Ben Habib could work brilliantly together. And I absolutely think what needs to happen is the rot needs to be cut out really fast because people still need hope and there is still time. But I just we've only got 4 minutes to go. Thank you, everybody. We've still got the Donald, exactly. And it would be absolutely remiss of me not to, yes, okay, I know, I will stand. I've said I'll stand, but the boys need to sort their shit out. Donald Trump, and to all our South Africans, you'll know that I spent 3 months living on the farms of white farmers being hunted from their lands by black gangs and being tortured to death. Speaking with survivors, widows, women, a lady who had her face shot off, speaking with the gangs, visiting the witch doctors, and made the documentary Plasmord. Well, Donald Trump announced today that America will give citizenship to South Africans should they choose to go. I know South Africans won't leave their land. And no one can understand that until you go there and understand. You have nothing but your land. And the Boer will say, I will die in my boots for the love of my land. But what an amazing thing to know that maybe you could fast track citizenship for your children. What an amazing thing that you could maybe have your wife get out, or your wife and children. And what an amazing thing for Trump to recognise that whites are being physically hunted and tortured in South Africa to stop aid to the ANC, who banned me from the country and tried to take me off to be held in jail. I wouldn't have come out of that. And what an amazing moment. I never thought the world would hear the stories that I was trying to help tell. And now they will. I honestly, for all the difficulty of what we're just seeing here in reform, I'm still so positive and optimistic because the arc of humanity bends towards goodness, and I'm seeing it all the time. And South Africa, for me, I was a very lonely figure over there, apart from my security boys who are fabulous. I was such a lonely voice there. 5-7 years ago, mocked in the press for race hate, deported by the ANC, banned from South Africa for race hate. And now the arc of humanity has caught up, and white South Africans are going to be fast-tracked for citizenship. But please know, if you're South Africans, I know that you won't leave your land. And I know it's not about running away from your country. But what an amazing and remarkable thing to see you being recognised. And it would made every last bit of torment absolutely worthwhile. So super love to my South African families. Where is the documentary? Plasmord. You should be able to find it. I mean, obviously, you know, it was a struggle and everyone tried to ban it. I made it with Rebel Media back when I used to work there. If you do Plasmord, I'll put it up. Maybe I'll try and get the link up. The Killing Fields, Katie Hopkins, South Africa. You should be able to find it. It's brutal. It changed me forever. I'm still changed by it. But that's it. So thank you. This was quite a different Katie's Arms. I know. Tommy, I'm really helping. I'm really doing my best for Tommy. Please know. And I also have big plans. We have plans. So please know there is hope there. I know you're reading very dark news about him, but I promise you there's hope. So much love to South Africa. Thank you to all of our Make America Great Again. God bless the United States of America. God bless Donald J. Trump. And to everybody who is a Reform supporter, let us hope that the boys, of their own volition, not taking my advice, but of their own accord, get themselves locked in a room tonight, duke this out, and most importantly, get Zia Yusuf out of the party, out of politics, and out of interfering with the hope, and actually much more than hope, friggin' raw determination of the British people. Okay, I promise next week we'll go back to taking the piss out of me, laughing about my sex life, and having a few glasses of wine. But this felt like an important thing to do. So lots of love to everybody. Hold on, this is my influencer moment. Oh God, I had two things to show you as well. Do you know what I'm going to do? I've been sent a couple of things that I promised to show. So what I'm going to do, thank you for these gifts, Mother Clucking Farm and the CBD gummies. I'm gonna take proper time to say thank you for these on another video that I do. But please know that I'm not being ungrateful. But I do always promise to let people finish on time so they can go and drink with their families. Okay, love to everybody. Hang in there. We have Trump. We have each other. The arc of humanity bends towards goodness. And always know this, no matter what, you've always got me. Okay, cheers. I'll see you somewhere on the road.